Flim Flam.
Hi kids, welcome to 4.4b. We're going to take a look at linear functions in tables with graphs. Your basic skills for today, you're going to be checking out multiplying fractions and cross-reducing them, prime factorization with the greatest common factor. Let's do this. Take a look at these two fractions we're going to multiply. Something that's important to remember about multiplying fractions, you don't have to have a common denominator. Just multiply the numerators and the denominators and reduce. We're going to reduce before we actually multiply with this, and I want you to pay attention to the orange writing that I'm going to do. If you take a look at the 15 and the 10, those are the numerators and denominators. I'm going to cross this off and I'm going to divide both by 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 5 goes into 10 twice. Now in green, I want you to pay attention to these are even numbers divisible by 2. 2 goes into itself once. 2 goes into 22 11 times. Now when I multiply this, I go ahead and I'll get my answer. What's 3 times 1? 3 times 1 is 3. And then 11 times 2 is 22. There's our answer. Reduced. And it's a lot easier to do once you reduce before you multiply. You have a smaller number to deal with. And you can kind of do it in your mind too. There we go. Let's go ahead and reduce these before we multiply. We could say 6 times 14, that's a huge number. 7 times 3, not bad, that's 21. But let's reduce first. So we'll cross off the 7 and the 14. Okay, 7 goes into itself once. 7 goes into 14 twice. 3 goes into itself once. 3 goes into 6 twice. And let's multiply. What's 2 times 2? That's 4. And 1 times 1, that is 1. This actually equals just 4. Alright, check this out. 3 times 10 is 30. 50 times 21 is a huge number. Let's shrink it down. We're going to go ahead and reduce first. So we say 3 over 50 times 10 over 21. Let's reduce the 3 and the 21. We know that 3 goes into itself once. 3 goes into 21 7 times. And we have 10 goes into itself once. 10 goes into 50 5 times. Now we multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. And we have 5 times 7, which is 35. And this is our answer. Pretty quick and easy. Now it's time to take a look at prime factorization. We're going to go ahead and break these numbers down into their prime numbers, or factors I should say. What numbers make up 25? That is 5 and 5. These are prime numbers. They cannot be broken down any further. Anything that is not prime is considered composite. And you break composite numbers down into prime factors. 30 is broken down into 5 and 6. 6 is still composite. 6 is broken down into 3 and 2. Now that we have this, we can see what is the greatest thing that is common between all of these. And we look at their prime factors, and you say, well, which numbers are exactly the same? Well, it's not going to be 3 and 2. It is going to be 5. So what is the greatest number that is common between them? It is just 1, 5. So the GCF, or greatest common factor, of 25 and 30 is 5. I can write this down. All right. 12 and 6, let's break these composite numbers down. 12 is 2 and 6. 6 is still composite, so that's 2 and 3. 6 is broken down into 2 and 3. What is common between these both? You also have a 2 in this side and a 3 in this side. That is the most common that you have. 2 times 3, which equals 6. So the GCF of 12 and 6 is 6. This last little skills builder is looking at the number 24, and I've broken it down in two different ways. Let's look at the left side. You can see that I have 2 times 12 that equals 24. And let me break the 12 down into 2 times 6 and the 6 down to 2 times 3. Notice that you can also break 24 down. Instead of splitting it in half, you can split it in threes. Well, you can, if you divide it by 3, you know that that you're going to get 8, and that 8 breaks down to 2 times 4, and then 2 times 2. What you need to notice is that in both situations you have 3 2's and you have 1 3. This can be written in exponential form by 2 to the third power times 3. Okay? Top secret! Here's a little help with tomorrow's quiz. Take a look. This will be number 1. We're going to try to use the graph or a table later to write a linear function that relates x, or I should say y, to x. Take a look at the orange and see that every time you go over 1 and go up 1, you're at another dot. Over 1, up 1, you're at another dot. Over and up. This means that your slope is actually going to be 1 over 1, or 1. And that could be looked at as 1x. Now we can go ahead and write the equation. Remember, rise over run is our slope. Slope is m in the formula you see there. And we know that our slope is 1, or x. And b is the y-intercept, and we can see that if we drew a line, we could see that it actually crosses the y-axis at 3. Here's our equation. Using a chart is just as easy to go ahead and write an equation for a line. I want you to notice the dots that have been plotted for you on this chart. You will need to make your own, and I just used the information up here in the chart. X is our first number in the coordinate, and if you take a look at the first one right here, we have 0, 2, so you go 0 on the x-axis and go up 2 jumps. Each one of the marks on the axes are 1 space, and you can see that I've plotted them. Our line goes just like, just like that. It's kind of a little rough there, but you can see that we have some information to write our equation. Y equals, and our slope plus our y-axis. We see it's crossing at 2, and our slope will be, it's a negative slope, and you can see that it goes over 1 and down 1, over 1 and down 1. Okay? When it does this, we know that our slope is 1. But since it's a negative slope, it's negative 1, or you would say it would just be negative x. If I can get that out. Just like so. Take a look at these two numbers here, and this is just trying to recognize, is this linear or non-linear? So take a look here at this number 8, and you can see that this is a line, so it's linear. When we talked earlier this week about intervals, when we look at a chart, they must be regular intervals. So if we look at x, we can see it goes 0, 3, 6, 9. That is a regular interval. But what about y? That goes 3, then 0, then 3, then 6. That's irregular. This is not linear. Remember that. Alright guys, be ready tomorrow to take this quiz. You'll have a good time, I think. You'll be able to handle it, no problems. You're going to ace it. Talk to you tomorrow.